Well, like I said in the last video, we were gonna do something on this Havoc X, and now's the time. So I've been checking it out, and honestly, besides the loudness, like I mentioned in the last video, these things have 100 horse, and they wrap. This thing's completely factory. Are wrapping to roughly 8,600 RPMs. That is wild. Just like nothing. You put it to the floor and it's pegging 86. So we're gonna go through some of the maintenance stuff today. This video, I'm gonna have to do it in 2 videos, I know, but I'll put it right under this one so you guys can just click on part 2 if you have a Havoc X and you wanna go through the full maintenance on these. And that's why there's gonna be 2. One for the full maintenance that I would consider full maintenance, doing everything, and a full maintenance to some yearly is just change the oil. But we're gonna go through the oil in this video and grease certs and grease everything. Blow out your air cleaner while you're changing your oil, because once I show you what you have out, it'll just be way easier. And the next video will be going through, which I'll glance in this video just to show you where they're at, but next video will be cleaning out your belt box and then changing the diffs, spark plugs, which you can also do when changing your oil, because as I'll show you here in a second, they're also right there. The easiest way I would say to change the oil is on these, how I do them. So we'll get to that, show you how many grease certs, where they're at, what not you want you, and then I don't know. And then we'll worry about that when the time comes. See you in a little bit. And before we get too far, I'll explain this also, how to take this out. I ain't just gonna jump you guys straight into where I'm at here. I'll explain that here in a second once I get through the grease certs. Now, most are probably looking at this video to do the oil change, but we will get to that right after we do the grease certs. That'll take 2 seconds, so we'll just get that out of our way. So the grease cert side of it, there's 4 on each front A-arm, which is just 1 on that one, and then obviously 2, 3, and 4. All right. These 4 bushings are the only ones on the front on each side, of course. And then usually some have them on these trailing arms, but there is none, just to show. Usually each one of those has one, like on Can-Ams and stuff, just for future advice. But then also obviously 4 on this side. There is 2 on the drive shaft that runs from the front to the rear. And you'll see, I don't know if I can get them or not. So right on that spindle right there, which you do have to take your skid plate off, which I was gonna get that is easier to do the oil anyway. So all it is a bunch of T30s and Torx bit, and it'll come right off. It's pretty easy. There's, I think, 6 on the front, and then a small metal bracket will come down, and then you just take the ones out that are randomly spaced, still all T30s, and the whole skid plate will be down. And then that grease cert is right there, not on this left side, but on this right side. It's facing away from me right now, but it's right on that bushing right there. That's 1 on the drive shaft, and that's coming midway down the side-by-side right here and going under. And then your other one is straight in here, which you'll have to get underneath also if you look from the shock through. Try and zoom in some more. There's the drive shaft right there coming out of that. Maybe. There. You'll see the U-joint right there. Right behind that X Actually, you can kind of see it sticking up. Right there, yeah. That's the other greaser on the dry shaft. That's the only other ones. And then coming back to the rear, there's 6. Same. Obviously, if you're doing this, you probably already know this. This is easy stuff, but same as the front. There's 4 on your main A-arms that go to the body. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the rear, they have them on the spindles also. So there's the top one right there, and then bottom one. And then again, 6 on the other side. So in total, you'll have 20, excuse me, there'll be 6, 6, 12, 8, 20, yeah, 20 plus 2 on the dry shaft. So 22 grease zerks in total. And then you'll have that greased, and that'll be the segment on that. And then we'll move to the dry sump oil, which is new for a lot of people because not a lot of them have it. You can see the oil reservoir right there. Dry sump. That's few and far in between on side, anything, but especially on side by side, which is kind of cool. I'll go through that system right now. Putting the step in, editing in right now. Remember to do this step when doing the oil on these dry sumps, on these Havoc X's with the dry sump. Remember this step. In the owner's manual, pulling that 15 amp fuse, turning the key, and then let's oil being pumped out of the engine and let it drain again, keep draining so it's all pumped out, because it's not gonna all flow out like a normal plug on the bottom of a motor. So starting now with the oil, like I said, I'll explain how we get to here, and that's this piece right here. These 2 pieces you'll start with. This one just comes out. So this is exactly how it is sitting in here too. This goes right in there, just like this. This one just pulls out. This is 2 T30s, 1 on each side. Yours will look different because this one has soundproofing on it. So yours obviously just look like normal plastic. But 2 T30s, take this one off. 2 T30s, take that one off. They are right here. I just have them setting up out of the way with the T30s. Sitting over there with them. And then them plastic push pins go right here on the side, which are a pain to get out. But you'll take your tool, and that's for them to go on each side. 2 on this side, 2 on that side, and then all of these T30s take out, and this will come right out. All it is 4 push pins, plastic Christmas tree clips, and then what is it? 2, 4, 5 only T30s. Took this out about a week ago, so going as you go. 5 T30s, and then we'll stay on the oil since that's where we're at. People want to see that part, but just a quick run over. This is what I'm saying. If you have in the seats, oh, we're going all over now. But since this is out, this is what I was saying. Spark plugs, air cleaner. Way easier to get to right now while you have it out. You might as well take the 2 Allen wrench coil packs off the spark plugs, clean the spark plugs, put them, or new ones, put them back in while you're here. And then the air cleaner, which I was going back to the seats here a second ago. All it is a tab in the front. Pull up, come back a little. It'll come out, and then the seats are out. That's super easy. But then this piece also is just sitting in there. That pulls out, and then you can do your air cleaner. All this at the same time is what I would do, especially when it's apart. And then back to the oil, because this is where you'll be now when you have the seats out. You can see just that tab right there to pull up from the back. It'll come up, slide it just a little bit, and it'll come out. I think I just said that in reverse before, but you get the gist. There's only a lever on one side. It'll come out. And don't mind all this other stuff sitting around. We're doing other stuff to the unit. We had he put, if you watched the last video, he put a cab heater on it, and we had to redo some stuff because it was leaking antifreeze. And we're putting a winch controller, wireless on it. So besides that stuff, we will get back to doing the oil. And as I'm here on the driver's side, as you're doing all this stuff, this is the easiest way, because looky there, tucked. Driver's side. Nobody has put this on YouTube, evidently, because people on my first video have been asking where it's at. And it's behind, basically behind the driver's side seat would be the easiest to explain it. Now in the video you'll get it. Most people couldn't find it, but driver's side seat, this panel, and that little guy right there. I would suggest just going on Articat or Textron. Amazon does have them, but they'll send you a, I think it's an MAUL oil filter. Yeah, it's like a $25 filter, but it's just easier for me to get the right ones and bill it out, because if you look, you do not have much gap between the oil filter and the ECU sitting there to get any sort of other filter onto that. Sorry, not ECU. ECU's right there. But the air box, intake box, I should say, to get any other sort of filter from there to there to get that oil filter off. So on this dry sump system, since we're going all over the place, I'll show you the easiest way is to come straight from under. It's a 1/2 inch bolt. Maybe right there. That's the bottom of your oil sump. 1/2 inch bolt, which is right there. 1/2 inch deep well fits perfectly, because with the extension where I put it, you can get your hand out of the way just in time when the oil is coming down out of this dry sump. So all you do is start it up, get it hot, pull that plug, and it'll all come out. And then obviously take your filter off like you do a normal vehicle, and then new filter back on. Check not double gasketed when you put the oil filter back on. Clean whatever's on the end of your oil plug off. Put the oil plug back in, and you fill it up right here, right where you check them. You fill it up with 2.8 liters. So roughly 3 quarts goes back into it. Just do a conversion. Pretty sure, I think it's right on. 2.8 liters is straight equal to 3 quarts. Usually if you watch my other videos on Can-Ams and Polaris, I'll take the liters and convert it to ounces. So like a Can-Am will be 64 ounces in the rear diff, because I measure with all my measuring cups by ounces, so they get the exact as what factory specs are. But this one should cross straight over to 3 quarts, or just a tad under, so don't quote me on that. But then, yeah, that's the oil change on them. Something simple. Dry sump is scary to some, but it's just that easy. And to show it book-wise, if people want this portion of it, there's that. Not everybody has a manual to them, so figured I'd show this. Because before you start it, hopefully people kept watching the video and not just skipped. Do you see this? You have to do that. Remove the fuse. That's why I have these out to remind me too every time I work on these. Because this is one of the onlys that you do this to. If you're still reading that. So you pull the fuse, turn the key, let it crank for 5 seconds. So that'll pump the engine out of the oil. Wow, pump the oil out of the engine. See all that? And then it even has the plug torque right on it. So we'll go back through the sequence. Since I didn't really mention the fuse right away, I will put that a tad sooner in the video. I'll just edit it in there so people know to pull that fuse and get all the oil out before I show them and explain how to do it this way. And then here's the rest. If you want to pause it and follow these. Rest of the instructions on the oil, and then yeah, next video we'll do the differentials so it's not a run-on video and people get what they want fast and easy, because when you're working on something, obviously you just want to get focused on what you're doing, not 10 other things. Kind of like we did a little today on the back and forth of stuff, but still kept it short so you guys had a good video to learn off of, since there is none on the Havoc X's. That is good and to the point. So with that, I'm gonna put a short clip of this fuse now, edit this video, and get it posted for you guys. All right, so back to this Havoc X, made by Articat, or technically, since Textron bought them, I think 2017, it is a Textron side-by-side. But we got the wheel off. 4 bolts that are a 4 lug nuts that are a 19. And then I took the 2 caliper bolts off, which are size 14. And then there's your 2 caliper bolts. And then take the pin out for the castle nut, and that is a 1 1/16 inch. Right there. And then what I normally do is get the grease in. But on these, I'll have to check here in a little bit if the rears are the same or not, because on Can-Am's, all 4 are the same. On Polaris's, the front is a 44, and then the rear is the 40. So I'm gonna have to see what's going on here, because I have 5. This is all the sizes they produce, and none of these fit. So as you can see, this is a 40. If I can do this with one hand, getting the CV up. That should be hardly able to move at all. So I know that's not gonna work, because technically to do these, you have to have a perfectly good seal in between these 2 O-rings. And then you can see where the grease is. It shoots grease into, if I can shine a light here. A lot of people don't know this on any side-by-side, but this is like it on most. You see that ring with actually grease right by it. That ring, it shoots grease into there, and that's how it greases these wheel bearings. But as you can see, there's a reason probably these have never been greased on this person's unit. So obviously if the 40 doesn't fit in there, the only other size up from a 40 is a 44. And you can see that ain't going in there at all. And then I thought maybe they produced one for these, but they definitely do not. I looked them up for how long. I'm like, what am I missing? But it's literally not produced that I can find one like a style like this to grease these front wheel bearings. But over that note, we'll go to the rear and then I might be able to show you how I grease these. Jeepers. All right, to the rear. And just like I knew, the rear is the same exact size as the front hubs, but for this video I wanted to take them apart anyway and make a little more segment out of it of what I needed to do, and also to tell the guy how bad these rears are. So I wanted to take them off and get a look at them, see if they fell apart when I took this hub off. And well, yeah, they're pretty much smoked. But I had a pound on it to get it off, and then to put it back on for now, because he needs the unit, I had to put grease back on it to even get it back into the wheel bearing, get the hub back into the wheel bearing. So now I'll just put this side back together and we'll go to the next step, which should be, I think, just taking, we'll do the belt box. We'll take the belt box apart and show you guys how to spray that out. And then from there, we will do the front and rear diffs. And then, besides blowing out the air filter, which I'll show, which is easy, not exactly blowing it out, but the easiest way to get it out, I'll show. And that's about it on this unit. So we'll get back to putting this hub together. No need to see that out of the first one I showed you. And then, yeah, we already got the grease certs down in the first video. Oil change down in the first video if you guys want to see that. And that's about it. Yep, that's about it. Surprise, surprise, we'll skip around here just a little bit, but the only reason I'm doing that is because the diffs are draining. I'll show you how to get the plugs out, where they're located here in a little bit, but I figured while that's draining, and since I'm technically still working on this unit, I'm gonna keep going, but I'll show you still everything with that here in a second, because once they're drained, I can show you the procedure of putting them back together also. So we'll wait on the diffs while they drain. Meantime, let's do spark plugs. I got them out, but I'll show you the process. So it'll be down in here like this. There's 2 Allen head bolts. Look like this, and that size is the metric 5. You'll take bolt out, bolt out, bolt out, bolt out, and then on each one you'll unplug this, and these will just pull straight up once it's unplugged and you have the bolts out. And then it's your typical 5/8 with an extension down in to get the plugs out. I always use a magnet if you don't have a good rubber in the socket. And then you pull them out. I already cleaned them off. This one looks a little rough, but he said just to clean them, so I used my sandblaster, little media sandblaster, and sanded them off, and then blew them out with air. Make sure if you're doing the sand idea, you blow them out with air after, so all the sand particles aren't up in your plug yet. And then put them back in, tighten them up, and then reverse order, obviously. Coil pack back on, 2 bolts, and then plug your plug in, and your spark plugs will be done. All right, now finally to the diffs. We got ourselves some 80 weight oil, and then it's out obviously right now, but this is your bottom plug. It's a size 8 metric, along with the top plug, your fill plug is also an 8. So I'll show you quick underneath. It's the only Allen right in the center of the diff. Pull it out, let it drain, pull your top plug out. I just like set them aside, and then you'll go in. I'll put my drain plug back in first, obviously, and then on these Havocs, it calls, I use on Polaris's and Defenders and stuff, usually it's when it flows out of the fill hole. On this it says 6 fluid ounces precisely, so that's what I always do on these. I mean, if it's a tad more, it's not that huge of a deal inside a case, but. So I'll put the drain plug in the bottom, tighten it up, add 6 ounces of 80W90 weight gear oil, and then put my fill plug back in there, and then it'll be all, the front diff will be all done. And we'll go to the rear, which has 2 chambers for some dumb reason, and it takes 13.5 ounces in the upper chamber, and then 94.7, I just go to 95 ounces in the lower chamber, and for some reason 22 ounces goes through the Havoc X's speed sensor instead of like Can-Am or Defender. But every time I do these, I'm like, yep, that is just completely stupid. But so now instead of on the rear diff, like a normal unit has 1 drain plug, 1 fill plug, and it goes to the top of the fill plug, or the bottom of the fill plug, I should say, when it starts seeping out like normal. That's when you shut them up, done. No, these have a certain ounce you put in, and there's also 2 drain plugs and 2 fill plugs. And then you fill and do the speed sensor. So we'll get to that here in a second. I'll button up this front diff, and then run to the rear. And then the belt box and the air filter. And then I think we're done. Finally. See you in a little bit. All right, as you can see, the front diff again is done. We got a little brake cleaner action drying up, so there's no fluid left over for the customer, and it looks good. So that's done, and moving on to the rear. Since I know you're doing this and you want it to be fast and not be blabbling on about something and want to get yours done, this is the fill plug for this side. The reason I'm starting over here because everything else is on the passenger side. So there's only one over here, which your 3/8 ratchet will fit in here. And that'll take out the fill plug for your lower chamber. And that is driver side, rear CV axle, straight to the left. And then as we go on the passenger side, we will have the other 3 drain plugs, which the upper chamber drain plug is also 3/8 that your ratchet will fit in. That's also a fill plug, just like the other side. And that one is straight through here. Here's your shock, here's your exhaust. Right there's the upper chamber. Yes, of course, out of all manufacturers, this one has got to be, I would say, one of the most complicated or per se dumbest ideas ever. So this upper chamber, we went fill plug, drain plug, right below it, right there. You can see in that, both of these drain plugs, that's the one for the upper chamber. They're both 1/2 inch, and they look like this. They're both exactly the same. 1/2 and 1/2. And your other drain plug, so you see, for upper chamber, fill, drain plug. Lower chamber, your fill plug is on the side I first showed you. the drain plug is right there. So as you're looking straight in, it is down a little bit and to the right a little bit of your passenger side inner CV axle. You can see it's still dripping. They are both 1/2 inch, like I was saying. So then, after you obviously take both out, drain the fluids, put your 2 drain plugs back in. I like just getting one done and out of the way, and it's on this side. So I do the 13.5 ounces into the upper chamber. So that plug will be in, 13.5 ounces, 80 W90, and then put your fill plug in, upper chamber's done. And then to make situations worse, now your drain plug will be in your lower chamber, which is still down there. Your drain plug will be in there. And then you'll go to the other side, fill it up with 80 W90 also, and it takes, they say, 95 fluid ounces. And to get there and finish that off, for some reason, they make you put 22 ounces of that fluid into the vehicle speed sensor, which, if you're coming in, shock, exhaust, I always thought this was dumb. So I never used to do YouTube to video it. So now that I can share it with you, I just think it's hilarious and stupid. I mean, I always thought it was stupid, but either way. Anyway, back to it. So you have to take the vehicle speed sensor out. It's an Allen. I'm pretty sure it's a 5 Allen. My phone can't even focus on it because it thinks it's also just so stupid. Anyway, it's right there. That's just a hose going across it. That doesn't have anything to do with it, but there's your speed sensor, 5 Allen, and you put the other 22 ounces through that hole to make the lower chamber full of fluid. And yeah, that's it for the rear diff. I don't know why they did a upper and lower chamber to start with, but then, I mean, I get it, the transmission and diff kind of in both, but I mean, Can-Am players have it all in one. But then, not only that, they also make you do the impossible, well, to make easy impossible, 22 ounces through a small hole that has, you have to take a cover off to even get to. But both take 80W90, 13.5 ounces, 94.7 or 95, whatever. And then obviously put your speed sensor back in, plug in, and that's by the owner's manual, so that's the way I'm explaining how to do it. And that is it for the rear diff. On to the next thing. After I fill these up. I also forgot on these to mention, because I haven't done one in so long, that it's easier to probably put about 30 ounces in that plug, and then the rest of your 95 that go in the rear diff, just put the rest straight through the speed sensor, which sounds harder, but it's actually easier. You can see that bolt right over there is loose yet, and I have this one tight. I'm putting it back together right now, but you just take those two. There's a nut on the inside with that bolt, and they're both 1/2 inch. Take both those bolts out, and you'll be able to use the Allen, which is a number, or not number, I guess it's not, but unfortunately, this one's for some reason not metric in there. So you get your other Allen wrench is out, and it's a 1/4 inch Allen wrench, even though the diff's front diff is metric. I guess this speed sensor is standard. So 2 1/2 inch bolts out, plate, just push it over towards the passenger side, and then your speed sensor, which is, you guys already seen, right there. And then there, if it focuses, there's your Allen right in front of the flashlight. 1/4 inch Allen, take it out, put the rest of your fluid in up to 95 ounces, and then obviously reverse order to put it back together, clean it off, clean the speed sensor off from any dirt that gets on it when you lay it down here, and then should be good. Just a extra tip, that's way easier, because trying to put it in there takes forever and you gotta spin the wheel and you still can't get all of it in. So it's just faster to go straight through there. All right, time to do belt box and show you a quick also here in a second how to get the air cleaner out easily, because we'll be removing that to get the side cover off the belt box easier anyway. So we'll get both of them done here in a second, and then we'll do a time lapse of me just getting all this tore apart. For starters, there's 1, 2, and then 1 just below the camera, 3 plastic push pins, and then there's 1, 2, 3, and then 1 just below the camera of T27 Torx. So 3 push pins, 4 Torx, take this off, and then now we'll start the time lapse. Easiest to take this rubber grommet off, then 1, 2, 3 clips, and then you can bring this out, because it just clears with the rubber grommet off, just clears right there. Then this will come out way easier. Then pull the air cleaner out or replace it with a new one and put it back together in the same order. Grommet on after the cover's clipped on is way easier. But now I'll finish taking the intake off just to get it out of the way for camera view and easier access to the belt cover. now that we got the belt cover off, we can take it outside, blow it all out with the air cleaner, check the clutches, see what they look like, check the belt. While we're here, and once it's all blown out, blow the cover off, then reassemble with these RT30s. For a second you seen me go get a different bit. I thought they were 27s, but they are T30s right here. Maybe. Someday. Anywho, it is a T30. And then 11 screws that you'll put back in. Make sure your seal stays in here when you blow it out. Otherwise, you'll get water in the belt box, and we all know how belts and water work. And then reverse order, put it back together. And now, finally, after you put the air cleaner back in, seats in, this top down, which is in my first video. It's all T30 screws with 2 push pins, if you didn't watch that video. But this shows the rest of putting it in this back together. And then this unit is all ready to be serviced. Just need to reset the maintenance light, which I'll show you here at the end of this video. And it should be good. So, after I reset the maintenance light, we will see you guys in the next one.